Everybody was kung fu fighting.
When you think of China, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Chinese food.
The stir-fried egg rolls.
Rice. Rice and chicken lo mein and tea.
And fortune cookies.
The Forbidden City.
Asian dances. The Great Wall.
The Great Wall.
The Great Wall of China.
You know, Great Wall.
Chairman Mao.
Tiananmen Square.
Crowded houses and big buildings.
A lot of people too, because there's like a billion people in China.
Thanks for stopping at Subway. Do you have any coupons?
No, I don't.
Go ahead with your order.
I just have a question for you. What is the first thing that you think of when you think of China?
Tea.
Can you think of one Chinese food?
General Tso's chicken, or Mugu Gai Pan, or do you like Kung Pao chicken, or do you like lo mein?
McDonald's.
Thanks for stopping. How may I help you?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, what's the first thing that comes to mind when you think of China?
Chicken nuggets.
Chicken nuggets comes to mind when you think of China. I have a question. What's the first thing that comes to mind when you think of China?
China. Wrestling.
Can you name one Chinese food?
Not really.
What's the first thing you think of when you think of China?
Egg rolls.
And I love Mandarin chicken.
Chinese foods. Is chow mein? I don't even know.
China, Chinese people are cool. Let me tell you why. Because they have kick, they have great food.
Okay, what kind of food can you think of?
That's all Chinese food. I don't know. Man.
Oh, that's a good one. Any movies that you can think of that had China in them, or about China? Any movies at all?
The Red Corner with Richard Gere is about China.
7 years in Tibet.
Rising Sun.
Karate Kid.
Say something stupid into the camera. Anything stupid.
I think I already have.
Okay.
This is the story of 4 average college students who decided to make a choice that would not only affect their next year of college, but also how they view the world. These 4 students, John, Sarah, Molly, and Ryan, decided to go to China as part of a group of students from St. Ben's and St. John's. Their program was led by directors Richard Ice and Jeannie Cook. Now you may be saying to yourself, well, I could never go to China. And as we're going to see right now, that's the same exact thing that these kids said.
I guess my fears about going to China, well, I had lots of them.
I was really afraid of just initially going and just what the small differences would be.
I was, number one, a senior, and most people who study abroad are juniors.
The biggest thing I was afraid of was probably the language barrier.
Being the only blonde guy on the street.
Going to a communist country, or, the fears of the political system.
And so I was afraid I would miss out on things at school, especially friends.
Some students were worried about the living conditions.
I was scared of, not knowing a language.
I could probably count to 3.
I was also afraid to come back to school after I'd been abroad. Like, how my relationship would change with my old friends.
That I wouldn't be the same person, I wouldn't fit in, life would change drastically, and I wouldn't know what to do with myself.
The thing that really got me the most interested was I talked to a student who had gone with Jeannie and Richard 3 years before. And I told her, I said, I'm not into that culture, and I'm not into that music and that art. and the history. I said, I don't know anything about China. And she said, that's why you need to go.
I chose China because I felt it would be a great chance for me to learn about a country and a part of the world that I didn't know anything about.
Just to go someplace different that I hadn't been before. I was kind of interested in philosophy and religion of Eastern culture, and China's the only program offered through our school that fulfills that.
I know for myself I wasn't totally sure about going to China, and I just decided you just gotta set your mind to it and do it.
I got my mind set on you. 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 And this time I know it's real. The feeling that I feel. I know if I put my mind to it, I know that I really can do it. But it's gonna take money. A whole lot of spending money. It's gonna take plenty of money to do it right, child.
The cost of the programs would be basically the same as tuition, room, and board on campus. The costs are more reasonable than most European programs.
It's gonna take a time, a whole lot of precious time. It's gonna take patience and time to do it, 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 to do it right.
But we try to make life very easy for them. The group will begin 2 weeks of travel. At the very start, they will arrive in Beijing and spend about 4 or 5 days in Beijing, and then they will go to Xi'an for several days and on to Guilin for several days, and then on to Chongqing.
China to me at the time seemed like this far off place that I could only ever imagine getting to if I dug a hole there in my sandbox when I was little.
I don't think we had any clue as to what we were getting into, what was in store for us, and it was just an unbelievable feeling.
I don't know why, but I didn't even expect it to be that like outright, just like Chinese.
I mean, looking around and just seeing how things operate, I mean, all these real little cars buzzing everywhere and people all over the place.
Everything was so cluttered. And then to get to Tiananmen Square to see this big open patch was just unbelievable.
The biggest thing was going to Tiananmen Square.
I remember just standing in the middle of Tiananmen Square with John Sheaf, and he was going off about how it's so amazing that us, coming from little old Collegeville, St. Joseph, are standing there in the middle of Tiananmen Square where in 1989 we had the big riots.
I remember seeing the picture of Chairman Mao that you always see.
And it was the place where Dan Rather and Tom Brokaw would come and say, live from Tiananmen. And it was like, we are in Tiananmen Square. Like, it was so unreal. It was so unreal. And then going to places like the Great Wall, which I never in my life ever thought I would stand on the Great Wall of China.
The Great Wall is awe-inspiring. You cannot understand it unless you actually go.
It was really overwhelming. It was tough to climb, and I can't get over how these people built this thing. I mean, the stones that they must have been carrying, I can't figure out how they would have gotten them to where they did and got it to last this long.
I felt like I jumped into my little 5th grade history book, the picture of the Great Wall, and it was in some ways exactly what I thought it would be, and in some ways I was really surprised at what the Great Wall was.
In Xi'an, I really enjoyed the with terracotta soldiers.
The thing that still gets me in Xi'an is our free day.
By the time we got to Xi'an, we had arranged for a free day. And we had also arranged for the group's first assignment. And that was they had to find their way back to the dormitory themselves. And we reassured them. We said, each and every one of you will show up at the dormitory tonight. We are not worried. We can do this. So everybody went off. We all got dropped off downtown.
We didn't have any schedules to meet, any places to go. We could just be on our own and do our own thing. Now, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what I wanted to do. But being able to do whatever it was by myself or in a small group, we needed that.
It was also really good, I think, for us to realize that we could do it on our own. We were gradually getting the chance to go and explore.
When we woke up the next morning and did a head-counted breakfast, sure enough, everybody was there.
And everyone was excited too.
And everybody was proud that they had done this, they had achieved this goal. And we talked about how, well, this is just the first step, and perhaps you can't envision it right now, but at the end of the program you'll be hopping trains and buses by yourself if you like, and you'll feel like you can do it. And it was a process of building confidence, and everybody did build their confidence, but that was step number one, and it was pretty funny.
I remember when I was going down the Li River, I thought to myself, this is what I thought China would be like.
You just have these beautiful, those classic loaf mountains that you see in a lot of Chinese art.
The people out in their little loincloths searching for fish in the water, and the water buffalo roaming through the water. And I remember I said to someone on our trip, I wish I could just go and watch and see what they do all day.
Seeing the water buffalo and the people in the water, and if they were fishing or swimming or bathing or washing clothes, and just the scenery and just the simplicity and just kind of the feeling of, this is the other part of China.
I believe it's important for the program to be where it's located, which is near Chongqing in the interior of China.
Beibei is the city that we were in at the university, Southwest China Normal University. And I think Beibei has like maybe around 400,000 people, and it's probably about the size of St. Cloud. That city was chosen for a reason because it is in southwest China. It's probably going to remain somewhat untouched.
I was really excited to be there. I thought it was really nice.
I was really overwhelmed. I thought this place is just absolutely huge.
I really didn't have any idea of what was around me. I mean, I didn't know that there were mountains that I could look at, right outside my balcony. I didn't know that there were beautiful palm trees all over campus. It has just about everything you would expect to find on, your everyday college campus. Everything from basketball courts to big tracks, soccer fields. It was nice. Saw the library, computer lab. We've got this restaurant. We've got shops. You can buy just about anything you need.
So Liban is basically the place where foreign students live.
Just look at this building, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is where I'm moving in for the next 3 months. So we just walk in, look around, and I mean, I thought to myself, wow, this is way better than anything I had expected.
Because I've always heard, the China program, oh my gosh, you know, you need to be hardcore outdoors person to be able to survive that trip.
The dorms, I guess, to me were surprisingly nice. They were better than anything I've had here. I have my own bathroom, a big living room. I had 2 other roommates to share it, which was plenty of room.
One of the things I was most worried about in Beibei was probably taking the classes and what would be expected of us and how it would be really different from what we were used to. But I don't think it wasn't that different.
It was just great to, you know, get to hear a Chinese perspective on things, especially regarding history.
My favorite class, I think, would be the calligraphy. Now, I'm not going to say that I was very good at it, but it was relaxing.
My favorite class was probably the calligraphy and painting class because I just liked having the quiet time.
Okay, my favorite class was the music class. We started learning a Tibetan dance, and so we would spend the entire hour and a half outside on this rooftop learning this Tibetan dance.
And that was just way, way fun because, I mean, everybody's out there making a fool out of themselves with these dances. And then, of course, you have the instructor who's just doing these wonderful moves, you know, as graceful as can be, and you're out there looking as clumsy as can be. But it was just great to get to laugh with everybody. It was a lot of
fun. John was one of the folks who jumped right into every experience. In fact, we joked that John ate his way through China. There wasn't anything that John wouldn't try to eat.
The Johnson banquet was fantastic. I mean, we'd heard so much about these dumplings, and then they come out, you know, and there's, I think each person gets like 1 dumpling, but they have dozens of different kinds. I mean, everything from like walnut to, you know, wheat dumplings to, you know, the regular white guys, and it's just amazing. I mean, each one is this delightful new flavor, and you just can't get enough of it. I ate, I think, a little over 60 dumplings.
And I loved the food. And everything was always so fresh, you know, it was just at the market.
There was a whole, like, lane, it wasn't really a road, but on campus, like, people who would sell fruit, which was so good and so cheap. And they would sell noodles, little bowls of noodles, and you could bring your own little tin if you wanted. The food was awesome. We ate very, very well.
It's great. It's really great. I mean, you're just trying different things every night. You know, I mean, everything from jiaozi, which is like dumplings, you know, to the gambia suji dough, to, I mean, some really tasty fried rice with nice bits of egg in there, and pepper, and, you know, it's just, it's really fun to get to try that. Stuff like green beans. You know, you never thought that green beans could be put in such a delightful dish. And then they have this thing called gambia suji dough. And it's just, I mean, it's green beans with so much flavor to it.
And I also liked lots of tofu. My favorite dish is mapo tofu, which is spicy tofu. And pretty much everything. I just love it all, especially like the vegetables and meat.
I like the noodles a lot, and especially since I got to know some of the vendors who would sell the noodles.
I also love the noodle shop.
I love the noodles.
The thing I probably miss the most about China right now is getting together for dinner or lunch and sitting around and spending an hour or 2 just eating dinner. And not necessarily just eating the great food of China, but having like really good discussions.
Okay, reading for
Hot pot was a meal, but it was more of a social event, I think, than anything. We'd go to a restaurant with our friends and sit around the table. In the middle was a pot of boiling water, spice, and seasonings, and we'd order dishes like sliced beef, pork, chicken, potatoes, any kind of vegetables, and threw them all in there. We'd take them out as soon as they were cooked and ready to eat. The way the meal is set up, it's made to eat really slow, and it gives you an opportunity to just sit around and enjoy your friends. And one specific time, we took out about 15 of our Chinese friends, and we sat there for 2-3 hours just eating, talking, and getting to know each other.
The word "朋友," which means friend in Chinese, means to me a very large part of my experience, and that was making Chinese friends.
I don't remember really having a problem making friends in China.
I just wanted to spend time with Chinese people, and so one afternoon I just walked to class alone, and I ended up running into somebody that I had previously been introduced to through a mutual friend. Her name's Lily, actually Zhang Yin Li is her Chinese name. I just started talking right away about we started talking about our spirituality and our family. And it was just like meeting someone from here. And actually it was like, I told her already that night, I'm like, this is like meeting a soulmate. Most days we would come over at 1 p.m. and Oprah would be on the American station. I would always ask her, so what did you get out of it? Or, what did you learn? And she said, well, I don't understand everything, but I just know that it's good and that it makes me feel good about myself.
I mean, it was really pretty easy to, get involved with some of the sports there because people, the Chinese students always kind of want to do, take on the Americans in some sort of a game, and that was a ton of fun. Apparently, word had gotten around campus that there were a few Americans who liked to play basketball.
At the time it sounded like a good idea. So we agreed. We got about an hour notice to round up 5 people to play in this game, which has been advertised or promoted throughout the campus. When we got down to the playground, we noticed there were about 15 basketball players sweeping the court. As soon as we saw them sweeping the court, we knew that they were going to take this pretty seriously, and we were going to be in for a match.
And then, right before the game was about to start, as though it was someone just said, okay, everybody who wants to watch, gather around. People just came in and just swarmed around the basketball court. And there could have been, 150 people, maybe more, just lining this basketball court. And you felt as though you were some sort of, a basketball star because you're running up and down, people are cheering, and there's just all this intensity to it, but it's still just a lot of fun. When you're playing basketball or you're playing soccer, there really isn't much of a language barrier. The celebration's the same when you're scoring, and so is the disappointment when you're not. And we ended up losing by probably 20 points.
I later came to realize that this team was ranked like 4th in all of China.
leaving is, I think, something that no one anticipates. No one anticipates that leaving China is going to be hard.
The day that I was finally packing up and saying goodbye, that's when it hit home that I was never gonna get back to this place or ever see these people again.
Before people go to China, their friends and their families say, going to China is going to be so hard. But no one says leaving China is going to be so hard. And no one really prepares for that.
It was a difficult time. There were a lot of tears shed by everybody. Everybody was really sad to go. I think our friends had skipped class to come and see us off. And as soon as they got there, it was instant crying. I mean, everybody was crying.
It just blew my mind, that I had met so many people who wanted to say goodbye to me and who I wanted to say goodbye to as well.
I remember a lot of us were pretty surprised that people we barely knew were giving us some pretty amazing gifts.
One of my Chinese friends, 10, we were hugging, and my nose was running, and he took his finger and wiped my nose for me. It was really representative of how affectionate these people are, how loyal, and they would do anything for you. I mean, what little they had was all out on the table.
Lily rode with a few of us to Chongqing to go to the train station. It was like a movie, and it was probably one of the hardest moments in my entire life. I put my bags on the train, and then I got back off the train, and Lily and I gave each other a big hug, and we both started crying. And then I had to get back on the train because the train was going to leave. And I got back on the train, and Lily asked me to open the window so I could reach out my hand out of the train window and she could have hers. And so we held hands until the train started moving, and then the whistle blew, and the train started going slow, and she walked along, and we both were really crying then a lot. And then we had to let go of each other's hands because the train was going faster, and she yelled out, "Molly, don't leave me." And it was like the worst thing ever, because at that point I just felt that it was more real, that I wouldn't be coming back.
I don't have a lot of pictures from that day either, because I think a lot of those things I just wanted to keep in my head.
Probably the most difficult thing I've done, other than leaving. Actually, it was more difficult than actually leaving my parents and my family the day that we left for China, because I knew that I'd eventually be able to see them again.
Are you glad you did China?
I'm really glad I did China. Readjusting is probably the hardest thing about the China trip, I think. Like spending Christmas in China, not really that bad, or Thanksgiving, or not seeing your friends or family for 4.5 months. For me, the hardest part was the readjustment.
China just left this wonderful taste in my mouth. It's like you take just a little bite of a cookie, and you can't eat all of it. You know, you just want to go back because you want more of it. I want to go back. I want to see more because I feel like I saw a lot, you know, compared to a lot of people, but there's still so much there that I want to unlock and open up and see.
Being away from where I've always been, like my comfort zone, and just getting out of that was a very positive, rewarding, amazing experience. I think it's really important to go like as soon as you can go to China because it is changing so fast. I think consumerism is starting to just really spread there, and how China isn't going to be the China that we've revered for so long.
If you have an adventuresome spirit, this is the place to go. You know, this is the highest contrast culture program we have at St. John's and St. Ben's. And so if you really want to see someplace different from the United States and you want to see a big contrast, you know, this is definitely the place to go.
I'm more dynamic, and I've definitely realized that the world is a lot bigger than what we're confined to here behind the pine curtain of St. John's and St. Ben's. The world is a pretty amazing place, and there's some amazing people who live in it.
Gumbao de pizza. Gumbao pizza. This is Gumbao pizza.
We're gonna use that.
You're not even taping.
No, I know. We were expecting to get some really uneducated answers, and here we are, and we get like a scholar. I don't understand how this happens. Just our luck, we just got kicked out of the mall, too. So first we get kicked out of the mall, and then all of a sudden we get brilliant geniuses answering our questions. Somewhere, somehow, we did not plan this interview out very well.
I was also afraid of being kidnapped and being made a concubine.
Okay.
I feel like when I think of China, I think of little kids digging through the earth to try and find China, digging holes in the earth. And I think of little triangle hats. Like that. Okay.
Nothing can break us, no one can make us.